All right, we are live to tape. Welcome everyone to the Sunday Pins Pod, episode 3. I'm Steven here with Shelly.
Right?
All right, let's just hop into it. Should we talk about the 3M championship out in Minnesota?
Yeah, I think maybe we can talk about it, but I don't know how much I'm able to add. I'm not sure about you, but how many shots did you watch from the 3M Open, especially?
Yeah, I mean, candidly, both you and I were golfing while it was happening for the most part. I think I got home to watch Johnny Vegas's 18th hole, and that was about it.
Yeah, I think I saw 2 shots from the whole tournament, and that was Johnny Vegas's like 90-footer, and then his tap in. So I think that's all you really needed to watch them.
Yeah, done. Topic covered. All right, let's get into more interesting stuff. Shelley, you want to bring this one in, because I know this is an article that you sent me that you were particularly interested in talking about. So I'll let you kind of lead this one in here.
Sure. So I think on recently during the week, Tony Finau had a charity golf tournament in his home state of Utah, the Utah Pride. That's what they call them. But from there, I think protesters were sitting outside of his tournament, with signs asking him basically to pay up. It's kind of circulated before that he apparently owes some backers some money from where I guess when he would previously joined the PGA Tour, he was funded by some backers to provide the initial funding to kind of get him off and running on the PGA Tour. But then, yeah, so just protesters were lining the fences of his tournament and kind of, I think they were ultimately kicked out because they said it was a private event, which seems like kind of bullshit to me. But I think they should be able to protest freely. So from there, I'm not sure if you have an opinion on it. What do you think about Finau not paying his debts to these people?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing would be to discuss whether or not we think it's legit, and then like what is actually fair. I think from a legitness standpoint, I have to imagine it's one of those things where there's smoke, there's fire. Like, this isn't one guy going out and being like, "Oh, hey, I saw Tony Finau when he was 18 at the driving range, and I bought him like 10 cheeseburgers and said, hey, get me back when you're on tour sometime." But like, it seemed from the article I read that not only was it the backer's family, but like multiple family members were out there, like not even the backer himself, but like multiple families and friends of these supposed backers were out there. So clearly there's a lot of support. I believe that this is going to go to court in the next few months, so I'm sure we'll uncover a lot there. I think originally I read that they were trying to settle out of court, but those I guess discussions have been squashed. So we might get a lot of juicy details here. The question is, how much do you think they actually gave him? What did it say? Like $600,000? Is that what they said?
That was a number I saw.
So pretty significant. But I've never been part of backing, a professional golfer. I'm not sure that I've ever encountered or ran into anyone that is good enough to have the chance to be a professional golfer. Nor do I have the money to back them. But I would imagine that these contracts would be pretty like ironclad and set in stone. Like, to me, if there's something there, the court case would be pretty clear, and it'd be like, hey, here's the documentation. Tony signed on the line that is dotted and said, I will give you 20% of my future earnings and up to X amount in repayment.
Yeah, I mean, and going back to the legitness, I mean, I think when you think of Tony Finau, everyone thinks, oh, this is a nice guy. He's pretty religious, coming from the state of Utah. So for him to be getting under the scope of not paying your debt seems like kind of a scumbag move from a person on paper who is religious and a family man. So I kind of think that's a bad look for him. If it wasn't true, I think he would maybe make a statement. So I feel like the way he's kind of being quiet about it maybe almost makes it think that he's kind of guilty. I think I was reading, it goes back though. These people initially brought up these claims though back in 2020. So it's been going on for a year. So that's also makes me think this is also pretty legit as well. But I don't know how the backing exactly works either. I assume it's probably more informal than we think. Like, I didn't know if it was, just a handshake of like, hey, here's 50 G's, just get us our money back, and then and then we'll figure it out from there. Which kind of makes me think maybe that's how it is. And then he just kind of blew up, and now these people are like, oh, we're entitled to more compensation because we didn't think you'd be making $50 million over the course of your career. I did see like they're trying to claim they owe like, or they're owed 20% of his total winnings, which seems like a lot. So maybe that's why Finau's being a little hush. But like if that's in writing, then I don't know how you get out of that one. So it's tough.
Yeah, I would say this. I mean, I have not been, for the most part, around the type of money that we're talking about here, where some like as a startup founder, I certainly have had, my friends invest in the business, but even those, we're talking about much smaller checks. All of those checks have been in writing, very formal. I have a hard time feeling that someone's just giving out $50,000 without any paperwork behind it. I could be wrong. I'm not out there playing some of these member guests at some of the nicest country clubs across the world, like maybe Finau did in his youth, and that's where kind of some of these transactions happen, where 50K is a nice bottle of wine to some of these guys. But I would like to think there's more paper trail, especially too if you're coming out with the numbers and saying, hey, you owe 20% of your lifetime earnings in perpetuity. Like that's a pretty specific number to be asking for. That deal would have to be inked in some sort of way, with some sort of paper trail, in order for them to really kind of go after that.
I mean, he must have been pretty desperate if he did agree to sell 20% of his lifetime. I mean, it almost makes like I don't know where other sports does this happen? I know like poker, you can like buy people's buy-ins and things like that. I've never heard of like someone like like an NBA career. I know like sometimes agents will front you money like going into a draft, like like here's a couple $100,000 to get you off the ground and running, and then when you sign your big first contract, we get X percentage of that as recoupment. But I mean, if it is true and he sold 20% of himself, that'd be kind of nuts.
Yeah, although I do get it. I get where the desperation is coming from. Like if you're in his shoes and you are playing these mini tours or whatever, I think he won the big break, so that got him something. But whatever he was doing before he was on the big break, like you're showing these mini tours and you have the opportunity for someone to basically give you $600,000. That's probably 6 years of playing time. And you have nothing that's going to keep you going. You've got no way to sustain that lifestyle. And someone says, hey, I'll give you $600,000, but in exchange, you have to give me 20% of what you end up earning lifetime. If I'm in his shoes, I'm taking that deal. And I think anyone's taking that deal. Like you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to be a top 20 golfer for the next decade and a half and make $50 million. And maybe even if you have that rationalization, you say, okay, I made $50 million. It means I'm giving them $10 million. I'm keeping $40 million. Like that's the worst case scenario. I'm giving these people 10 million. I keep 40. Like that's a deal you can live with.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And I was also thinking about it. I feel like recently there were some rumors going around Tony maybe going to live. This might be like a perfect storm for him to get rid of those backers. He could put in the contract with live like, hey, make these guys go away for life, and then I'll come over. I thought that'd be a good storm. Or he could also just ask the Saudis to take away for free. Have these guys disappear off the face of the earth. I thought that would be kind of cool. But I guess if they are owed 20%, maybe that's why he's not going to live, because I guess they're entitled to that contract as well. So I feel like there's two parts to that. But for me, I feel like the easy answer would just be like go to live and just get them gone for good.
Yep. I think we'll follow this. If these guys are truly like friends of Tony's doing, I think both parties are in the wrong. Like if you're truly a friend of Tony, like you're an actual friend, like, I've got some investors that are actual friends, and I don't think that they would want 20% of my lifetime income if I was making $50 million. But I also think that we'd square it away something that was fair, and they get some sort of ancillary benefit of being my friend. Which makes me think that these are just kind of random guys who like saw an opportunity to profit off of them versus like actual friends. Unless he was just like a big dickhead and was like, hey, I see this, I'm not going to give you anything. And now they're going after everything.
Right, but if you're Tony, I think at this point it's been going on for 4 years. Just make a statement if it's true or not. Try to put the rumors to somewhat of that. You got to make some sort of comment. Otherwise, I feel like no comment just makes you look guilty.
Yeah, I'm sure his legal team's telling him not to say anything. But if you can't come out and deny them, then it means there's something to them.
Right, there's something.
Yeah. Anything else on that one? I think we'll just have to watch how it plays out.
No, I think it's pretty awesome that these guys are out just protesting at a charity event. It's kind of a cool guy move, I feel like, for them.
Yeah, I mean they're desperate, and I love it. It's getting the buzz. Was it Aeon mid club challenge? Suddenly everyone's not going to be so excited to see Tony with just his driver and putter facing off against Annika there and all the other sponsors.
Yeah, and I was also thinking about like maybe Tony's not as rich as everyone thinks because he's traveling with his large family to every tournament. So
yeah, definitely large family. I mean, there's a lot of them, but they're also a large family as well.
But it's kind of one of those things. If you can't afford a big family, you don't have a million kids. So it could be going. Tony just be a bad money person. I think
it's possible. Yeah, I mean, on the road, you're eating every meal out. You got to accommodate whatever. Flying PJs. I guess if you're flying PJ though, for you and the wife, it's all the same to bring Big Tony in the rest of the crew.
I don't know. There's like 15 of them.
I think none of these people have as much money that you get on paper. Like I think it's a pretty big. I mean, it's the same with all athletes, but the number you see in the contracts and the PGA Tour listings and the Forbes lists, I think you're really only seeing a fraction of that by the time it's all said and done. Especially when you're a pro golfer who has to pay his way each time and he's getting these $10,000 Airbnbs every week.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, on to the next topic here. This topic is brought to you by nobody because we don't have any sponsors, but I wish we had sponsors because it would make transitioning to topics a lot easier.
Yeah, sponsors would be cool. I think we would be able to up the production quality and things like that.
Yeah, well, maybe if we up the production quality, the sponsors will come. I think maybe it's a field of dream situation. If you build it, they will come.
We'll have to put that in the contract.
Yep, done. All right, let's talk about the next item here. This is another one, Shelly, that you sent me, hypothetical that you saw on Reddit. That I think is an important question. And that question is, you are, let's say in bed or let's say on the couch or whatever it is, and you're watching a movie and you got your bag by you because it's your baby. You don't let it out of your sight. and suddenly you hear a window get smashed or you hear that door knob start to creak open and you hear the of the door coming. What is the club that you are grabbing out of that bag to defend yourself?
I liked your door creak there first. But for me, I think I'm going mid-iron. The more I think about it, you want the stability, something strong. I think maybe like a 7. I think is the nice middle ground. I was kind of leaning towards maybe the longer irons at first, but you do want that. What am I looking for here? I guess the short stability. I think of the club. Obviously, you don't want a long club like a driver or something. It just gets too flimsy out there. But you need some sort of thing like longer iron. I feel like to do more damage to the head. That's where I guess my initial thoughts went. Where are you going?
Yeah, I think I'm going almost the opposite. I think I'm reaching for a wedge. And let me tell you why I'm reaching for the wedge. First, I like the bounce of the wedge there.
I think the bounce isn't going to help you.
Oh, I think it will. Let me tell you why. First off, if you're swinging at something like flat, like a blade or something like that, I think there's a decent chance that let's say this burglar or something tries to grab a hold of it. He's grabbing something square. He's trying to grab that bounce. That's slipping right out of his hands, and I've got myself a second shot. The other thing I like about the wedge is there's a lot of control over it. We're talking about a mere 3-4 inches. Well, what's the difference between your sand wedge and your 7-iron as far as length? 5-6 inches at most, right?
I don't know if there's anything I know about a fight, like a boxing fight. Reach always wins.
Sure, you're the one, but you've got an extra, 3 feet of reach. I don't know that the extra 4 inches matters. I like the idea of the wedge. I feel like the wedge is going to be a lot more controlled onto the shaft. Like it's going to be grafted, I think, better to the shaft. Like I feel like an iron head could fly off pretty easily during impact. I feel like the wedge is really going to kind of be there. And I also think the sharpness of the wedge is like meant to dig in to the ground and kind of just like bite through or slide through with kind of some like sharpness. I think that would work as a pretty good blade to like maybe crack this guy's skull open versus like a iron, depending on how you're striking it, might kind of get stuck or hit him flat upside the head. I think we all agree that any kind of head cover is not the play. Graphite shaft you don't really want. You'd imagine that could break pretty easily. And I think what do you call it? I think a driver is too light. Like the kind of metal woods are too light. But that's where my head immediately went to the wedge there.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the sharpness of the wedge being that would be able to help you more than like a 7-iron or like a 6-iron. But I do think though probably the best bang for your buck would be the driver. I think if you did hit someone in the head straight on with a driver head, I think that would do the most damage.
Yeah, but I think you got to really have them pretty still.
It would be like a one hit and they're out thing, but you just got to make sure you hit them with it. But I think if you're going for multiple swings, I assume you're missing just with, in the frantic mode state you'd be in. You got to get multiple shots back and forth, whipping past them, kind of almost like a samurai sword. I think you want the mid iron.
What about the putter? You think the putter's got anything to it? Like the putter, the corner of a putter, if you can land it just right, like you could bash somebody's head in pretty good with a Scotty.
I think it depends if you got a mallet or a blade. I think.
It depends on. Would you think mallet or blade is better?
I think mallet. I think bigger surface area is what you want.
See, I'm thinking I like the blade. Once again, I like the sharpness. You can really kind of like dig in with the front end of that blade putter.
I think Odyssey 2-ball might be top 3 pick there. I think if you have like a big fat mallet putter with some weight behind it, I mean the shafts on putters are pretty strong as well. I don't think you're gonna get much torque, so I think that might help you there as well.
I think the only issue would be if you got like a super stroke or something like that, it might be hard to hold on tight. Obviously, you got that mega grip on there. If you're going with like the 2-ball, are you envisioning yourself hitting them with the putter face or the back of the putter?
I think I'm just swinging and just trying to hit any contact with the head. It's whether it's probably the front of the putter, I would imagine, like the face.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm trying to use the back of the putter. Like I feel like that's my best striking point, almost like the back of a hammer. I think either of them are going to obviously be pretty effective if you get good contact. What I think what's it called, the saber tooth. I think that's a putter. The ones that kind of have the two edges on them. I'm not sure if those are sharp enough to do real damage, but if you do backwards on that, you could I think there's a white hot version of it. Those could be interesting as well.
What about if I have the Odyssey Fang putter? Could I get the back of that in someone's like skull maybe?
That's what I'm thinking. I think like that kind of like again, it's my word that I keep using here. The sharpness really, really kind of gives you some sort of advantage there.
I mean, yeah, I think if I whip my putter around and hit someone in the neck with it, I'm doing lethal damage.
I think you could rip through the neck. Like it's in and it's going and it's tearing through.
I don't know if I could tear through, but I think I could at least maybe stick it in like the big artery that's there.
The big arm. I don't know how much practice we have with attacking. So I don't know.
Maybe once we get the resources, this would be a good Mythbusters. If I feel like if we get some demonstrations of which clubs would maybe get the most pressure out of a hit, would be a good science project.
You know what? I actually like where you're headed with this. Now, I don't think we're gonna have the Mythbusters capabilities, but what I think we could do is, I think next time there's a sale on watermelons, we can hit Jewel Osco, buy maybe 4 or 5 different watermelons, hit the thrift store, and pick up a putter, pick up a mid iron, pick up a wedge, and grab some sort of driver, and see how each one affects the watermelon.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be a good project.
All right,
if we could probably sell the sponsorship around this, I imagine too. Feel
sure.
Like maybe like some self-defense company potentially would be knocking on the doors.
I remember for a while Barstool was hawking those tasers. So maybe we can get whatever company, that Taser company that used to sponsor some of those Barstool pods to sponsor this segment for us.
Yeah. All right. Fine.
All right, listeners, you hear that? Give us about a month to film this one, and we'll come back to you. You'll be able to find that on Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, any short video platform.
But until then, we put in the comments what you guys think would be the best club. I think we have been lacking on some feedback from the viewership. We've heard through the group chats, but we love to see some comments. And creating some engagement on our videos.
Yep, engage. All right, great. On to the last topic of the day, and this was something that I didn't really plan on talking about, but was thinking about it as we thought about. We were at you and I, we were golfing at Chevy Chase, whatever it's called, golf course over here in Chicago. Apparently not related to the actor. I'm still not really sure how that makes sense, but we'll have to do some more digging. And at 9, you stopped in to get a glizzy, and out there were like 4 guys just like smoking cigars on the veranda there, drinking a beer. And I guess my question that I thought of is, A, how do you feel about the cigar on the golf course? And B, have you actually ever seen a good golfer that smokes a cigar on the golf course?
So I respect the cigar move. You do kind of look like a badass out there, but I feel like there's nothing worse than just riding in a cart with somebody with like a long Churchill cigar, and they're just blowing smoke in your face all day. It's pretty miserable. I don't think anyone really likes the cigar smoke in their face too much. But I mean, I'm not a cigar guy. I don't really smoke them. I'll puff on one for maybe like here or there, but I can't. If you can enjoy a cigar for a full hour, I think you're kind of a crazy person. It doesn't taste good. Just makes you stink. But going back to, have I ever seen a good golfer? I can't say I have. I think it's high handicaps and above, but I think they're just out there for enjoyment. I think the good guys aren't out there trying to smoke cigars all day. I think it's you're talking to your 90 to 100 round golfers. They're out there to get drunk, smoke cigars. I mean, they don't take the game that seriously. But I would say the person that kind of comes to my mind on cigars is Miguel Angel Jimenez. I mean, I feel like he's the legend.
Is he smoking cigars or cigarettes? What's he smoke?
No, he smokes cigars. I mean, I think he's a baller like that. But I think that's the only guy I know. But he's like, what is he? Spanish and European, so it kind of plays for him.
Yeah, I think he might be from Spain, but don't quote me on that. It's information that people could look up, but we won't. But no, I know I'm anti-cigar personally. Like I've smoked them here and there. I will smoke one. Someone gives me one. I'll take like 4 hits and then or puffs or whatever you want to call it. And then I know my throat is going to be sore for the next God knows how long, like 2 days. And then as far as like on the golf course, I guess it's just like it's another when am I going to be doing it? Like I feel like I don't have a lot of time in between. I'm either driving in the cart, I'm hitting the ball. It seems like it's just an excuse to do so. Like why not smoke the cigar doing anything else? And maybe you don't have 4 hours dedicated in your life to smoke a cigar, and so it's like let's put in all these outdoor activities all at once. But I don't think I've ever seen anyone or played with anyone that was remotely decent at golf that had a cigar in their hand. And maybe people in the comments and chat will come after me. But I see anyone that's smoking a cigar, and if you're not like a 50-year-old like Italian man, I kind of think you're a big tool while you do it.
I mean, I also think it's a rich guy move. We're not into that. I think high society, not yet. At least, but I think it's one of those things you don't know because you're not a part of it.
It's possible. I don't know because I'm not a part of it. Well, I think for the most part, that's going to be a pretty short one for us today. Not a ton of stuff going on in the golf world. We'll all be watching the Olympics. Although I do have a bachelor party, so I don't know how much I'll actually be watching the Olympics. But I'll say I'll be watching the Olympics. I'll get enough so we can get a full recap next week of the Olympics. Maybe something interesting will happen. But in the meantime, I think that's going to do it for your pod 3 here. Sound off. Let us know if there's any debates that you want to hear us have our take on. But other than that, have a great week, everybody.
I think that wraps it up for us.
All right, I've stopped recording. Wait, nope.